Hello and welcome to the Scientology Money Project on YouTube. We're part of the larger SPTV network, the global network. And welcome to the show. We have unstable datum. Scientology is like, we're watching. And now the SPs are like, well, if you're going to be like that, we will get our own cameras and encryption and security consultants. You're damn right, unstable datum. And Mark Hardman, welcome. I think you're trying to obfuscate the secret space laser project. Well, we're getting off there. Yeah. Einstein actually predicted lasers, I believe, in 1918, and the technology wasn't there. Anyway, let's get back on track before we get into lasers. We have 1984 by George Orwell. Welcome to the show, 1984. At Wayne's World, always glad to have you here. And we have some pre-show watching. Hey, I got my cross your fingers. I have all my technical problems. My last show was a real dumpster fire, and there was a lot of overlapping software problems from some new things I'm doing technically, and I had an expert come in to try to fix it. So troubleshooting, and sometimes when you get some really out there software, it can screw with StreamYard. So anyway, the news today that interested me is Aaron Smith-Levin, or Growing Up in Scientology, covered the news of a Sea Org member getting arrested. Now, here's my take on that, because I had people ask me, before I was a private investigator, after I left corporate, and before I became a PI, because there's a whole trail, I worked as an investigative analyst, and I would investigate trends, behaviors of organizations. And an investigative analyst, I have been doing a lot of that, reading about it, studying it before I left corporate, because I was pretty good at analyzing Scientology and behavior. And I'm talking about fascist behavior of organizations or money laundering. And that's a long story. Apostate Alex, I'm here in the chat, but I've got you on mute for a bit. Okay, understood, Alex. Glad to have Alex there. He's got me on mute. So, the arrest was sweet justice this morning. You are correct, Jenna. My take on it as an analyst, professional analyst, investigative analyst, this Scientology is getting desperate. They are really getting desperate. And I compare it with another piece of data Aaron mentioned, that Talon Executive Services out of Orange County may be losing their contract with Scientology, and that's their biggest contract. I'm not surprised. That's speculation, but I have reason to believe through the grapevine here in SoCal, and I have very good contacts down in South Orange County. I think that could be happening, and one of the reasons it could be happening is that Talon's failure to handle the live streamers, Scientology's failure to handle it. And I think cracks are forming for that Sea Org member to get arrested for an assault. It shows the tension within the organization. And I take it as a sign of fracturing within Scientology, especially if Talon is losing its. I know more about Talon and the organization and its people because they've done too many sloppy things in terms of Talon is not good at operational security. They plus, and I'm not going to say everything, but they're just not good. I don't think they're that good of a firm. Jenna P. asked, Jeffrey, do you think someone sent the Sea Org member out to do that? Unknown. My guess is that he was certainly to be able to get off base and go do that. He had a camera. And if you've been around Scientology at all, watching for a long time, that was like a 2000 era I'm sorry, 2008 era anonymous camera. Like when we were protesting as anonymous, uh, that's an old camera. Wasn't a cell phone, and this was an older Sea Org member. So, did he just kind of decide to strike an effective blow against the uh, enemies of the group, or did they send him out there? I don't think Scientology would send someone out to get arrested. So until he makes a statement, and I don't think he will, I think he'll just take the fifth, and they'll do a Mary Sue on him and make him go to jail or whatever the penalty is. But there's certainly a civil lawsuit, which I encourage Jay, who was the one who was assaulted, to file a civil lawsuit because there'll be discovery, and if they don't want to go to discovery, they'll settle with them for some money. So if he was on a secret mission, yeah, we're going to get to that. I hope the police file big charges against the Denver guy. Likewise, a film camera, no, it looked digital. Um, it looked like the lens cap was still on his camera. you know, maybe it was Joe. Maybe he just forgot to remove lens cap because he hadn't had the benefit of L. Ron Hubbard training in how to use a camera. That's like a 500-hour program. And the first thing we do with the camera is to remove the lens cap, and then we dust the lens. So what I want to talk about today, uh, yeah, it's just a name. I hope the Denver DA takes this seriously. Likewise, it's never just one clown in the clown car. That is well said, a name. It's never just one clown. There's always more clowns. And usually operatives work in pairs. So do crooks and burglars. So if you ever, confront a burglar or a criminal, I always assume there could be a pair when I'm dealing with someone I think is a criminal, because they tend to operate in pairs. So clown cars, yes. There was someone else there with the phone. Natalie showed his view. Correct. And see, this is a project I want to do. My Scientology Money Project blog started because I wanted to compile data on money, crime, lies, legal matters, etc. Someone who has the time, and I'm willing to do it, but we need to log all the LAPD calls. You have to count. Have there been 20 so far? How many officers were involved? You always count number of cars and officers. Were guns pulled by the officers? Then that was a reported felony. So somebody needs to centralize all the police actions against live streamers protesting Scientology. Denver, whatever town it happens in LA, there has to be an open source database, because I keep preaching open source intelligence. We as a community have to have actual statistics we can give the Department of Justice. For example, there have been 16 calls where LAPD has rolled, 8 where LA Fire Department. I've seen at least 8 times the LAPD has come out. There's probably more. There have been 4 false arrests. You need to actually put it somewhere. So somebody should take that project on. It's like Apostate Alex does Cause Recce, because I don't have time and I don't understand British Commonwealth law. Alex does, and he's gotten stuff done. He actually has a member of parliament looking into Scientology. That's a huge result. So I'm going to go through a couple things today. And so I hope somebody out there, and maybe Natalie Webster can do it because she watches it, but somebody should take on a project of getting all the live stream reviews and all the arrests and reports of arrests, time, date, location, how many, because that's information the Department of Justice could use to open an investigation. And there's some other things I'm going to tell you that you could do to help yourself. Yes, we could set up a system where no live streamers can submit incident reports to a database. The person curating it would have to be known and trusted. Well, sure, we'd have to be someone who's known and trusted, but I like this idea. There has to be somebody. in the community has to set up a database to file incident reports on what the cops are doing. Jeffrey, can you rent a website? No, you just basically, I've never heard of renting a website. It would be like, what are you talking? The Airbnb of websites? No, but what you can do is you can go to GoDaddy and you can get it registered out of Panama anonymously so that they can't trace your registration or that you own the website. You just go get a Panamanian registered website on GoDaddy. And I might know some guy who does that kind of stuff. You can do it yourself. You just use your credit card, but the registration is untraceable. You pay extra for Panamanian registration. So, regarding the project, it's tough when streamers private their live afterwards. True, but at least even if you started right now, you can go back and get some of it, and you can do an outreach. You know, ask the live streamers, Aaron, Natalie. I mean, you know, I'm glad to help. And so we could do this data collection effort informally, but it has to be started. Yeah, Kelly Copter would be great at that. Kim Wexler's ponytail. And I only saw Kim Wexler fleeing the scene. I only saw her ponytail. Unknown description. We don't know the color of her eyes. She may be a Marcab agent. If you could keep a shared Google sheet. Yes. So today we're going to go into the Zach Ellison would be good at compiling a database. Yeah, I see Zach around, great writer. So I'm going to jump in and I want to go through my slides and a couple other things to kind of, I want to show you some surveillance and what's going on and give you some context. So let me add this to the stage. At the high level view, Scientology, it's all about the money. It's all about the money because money buys you control and power. And Scientology, if I could tell people one thing about Scientology, it would be this. It's all about the money, and they don't give a shit about the law. Scientology does not give a shit about the law, does not give a shit about children or if they ruin the childhoods of children. They don't care about adults. Scientology wants as much money as it can get, and its goal is to impose or dominate others. And it doesn't care if it breaks the law. The Chase Wave credit card fraud, covering up Danny Masterson's essays, it doesn't care about the law. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. That's why you should always travel in pairs, have a companion with you, a friend, and, someone has to have your back because evidence is really important. So it is all about the money. L. Ron Hubbard wrote, make money, make more money, make others produce so as to make more money. And that's really what it's about. Now, I want to show you these slides from my old archives. Scientology has a process. It's called money processing, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, former Sea Org. But in money processing, and these are old pictures, but I'm old, so I collected them. They take out a lot of money and they have Sea Org members throw it around and handle it and laugh at it so they get a reality on money and how they can have money. Because L. Ron Hubbard said not everyone can have money. And the idea of havingness, that you can have something is a concept. So if you're broke, Scientology will tell you, well, that's because you can't have money. And there's some idea that if you can have money, money will just appear because you'll naturally do all the products and sub-products, they call it, so that you can have money. So this is a game where it's almost desensitizes people to the fact that money is real and it has to be earned. And so this idea is that Scientology regs can just take money from people by telling them they need to they need to increase their necessity level. And there's all kinds of things they talk about. Here's another money game in Scientology where you're throwing money around as if you could magically as if you could magically have money just appear and go into Scientology every Thursday at 2 p.m. Every Thursday at 2 p.m., L. Ron Hubbard, their stats need to be turned in, and that's a Hubbard created thing of stats. And there has to be new money. It can't be old money. It's got to be new money for the week. And then the money goes up into the Search reserves. Everyone gets a cut, and it disappears. By the way, I want to add an opinion, going back just for a minute to Talon, Ron Williams' company down there in Newport Beach. I think what I heard is there's a certain calcification was the word I heard. There's a certain calcification occurring that the company is that's the word I heard while I was in a fancy place having a drink, that there was a calcification occurring, that the firm had lost their edge, that talent had become calcified. Oh, so has Talon become decrepit in its old age? Or were they talking about Ron's arteries? I don't know, but calcification was used. Jeff, we need a wiki. Well, then Wayne, do it. Start a wiki. See, this is the thing is you're free to do anything you want. You don't need anyone's permission to do a darn thing. You can just start a project on your own. It's got to start somewhere. And that's what's the great thing about YouTube is you just start doing videos or a blog. A blog I like because I keep saying we need blogs to compile information and forms that are PDF that can be read, that can be downloaded because people don't search YouTube videos. So we need everything. So any kind of contribution to open source intelligence is welcome, and you get started on your own, and then you develop a following of people who read your stuff, and you find your own natural audience. So, but let's go back to so this is Scientology. They throw money around, and they laugh that they can have money and make money and fleece people for money. And now, when obviously, of course, when all these money games fail, look at that slide. All that money they got out of finance or treasury. I don't always know the departments. And now when that fails, when all the dollars fail, they turn to credit card fraud. So I guess they run out of cash. But anyway, maybe they do this exercise now. Maybe they have their Sea Org Regs and other people throwing up credit cards in the air because you get a lot more money. And Talon going to need to do the calcification rundown, correct unstable datum. And who are you calling on the phone? Every time I see you unstable datum, you're on the phone, you're on your 1965 telephone calling someone. Are you calling Ron on target too? Are you an agent? Does Talon need to pay a visit to their dental hygienist? Oh, I would say something would give away my source. Fossilization, rigor mortis, possibly, it could be, but there was calcification. Pelican Hill, huh? Salutel. I think so. Wouldn't CalMag make it worse? I don't know. Maybe it could depolarize your brain neurons. I don't know. So anyway, Scientology and money. These are just some stuff I wanted to throw out in the intro. Laughing. And what this guy's not going to be laughing about, the Sea Org member, is when he gets old and there's no Social Security money for him, no pension, because Sea Org does not give a pension. You have to sign that you don't get a pension for your old age. And there's maybe somebody knows her in this picture. All the money on her desk. You can see behind her shoulder the red volumes that I showed the other day on the show, the red volumes. And the book, What is Scientology? This is probably a mid-1990s era judging by the books and the certs. So she's smiling because she can have money. ICANN has money. Anonymous might say. So now, the other thing I wanted to cover was the matter of the Aftermath Foundation put up the bulletin board, which I thought was genius. There wasn't total agreement in the community. I thought it was genius because it was right there. It was right there. And the way in which Scientology reacted by putting up emergency lifts to block it visually. And then Clear Channel came out and turned off the power at night to the bulletin board. So their CEO, what's his name? I had him up here. Clear Channel CEO is Scott Wells. Yes. Scott Wells, the dickless wonder, CEO of Clear Channel. Sorry, Scott Wells, but you are a dickless wonder because you gave in, you capitulated to a cult. You capitulated to a cult. You're about Clear Channel Communications, Clear Channel Outdoor. No, you're not. You have zero integrity, in my opinion. You dickless wonder. You gave in to a cult, had your crew go out. You couldn't even stand, Scott, you couldn't even stand. You make $5 million a year. You're publicly held. I read all about you, got a file open on you, and you make $5 million a year, $5 million a year, and you're supposed to be an expert in communication, reaching mass audiences, and you can't go 72 hours, 3 days with a cult. You fold up that. What a bitch. What a bitch you are. I don't know why, if I were the board of Clear Channel and I wrote to Clear Channel asking for a response for an article I want to write, they wouldn't answer me. I wrote to the Clear Channel Communications, public media, relations, and said I'd like a comment on this. Clear Channel Outdoor would not answer me. That's how, bite my tongue. That's how cowardly they are. They're just chicken shit. They can't even answer a blogger with a YouTube channel, and they own all these billboards, and they blather on about free speech. Their stock is up, and I think maybe Scotty worried about earnings being hit if this became a channel. And yes, they are cowards. So shame on you, Clear Channel. And what they did now, when Scientology reached out to Clear Channel, screaming about the SPs putting up the bulletin board, I'm sure they did a thing like Gus on Breaking Bad, who would say, Scott, their CEO, what's his name again? Oh, yes, Scott Wells. I'm sure Scott Wells would say what Gus said to the Salamancas. I have no issue with your right to vengeance. So to me, that was Scott Wells saying, yeah, I have no issue with it. As long as you don't hurt me, Scientology, as long as you don't come after me, because I'm afraid of your PIs, and you might write nasty things on the internet about me and my company, and we can't handle it because our stock is up, and I need to get my bonus to put an inflatable pool in my backyard, and I need to buy a new RV. So I'm sure that's what they said. I have no issue with your right to vengeance, meaning I'm afraid you'll hurt me if I don't give in to you. So I have this idea. This was my concept. Scientology should buy the billboard for 500 years. And this is my concept for advertising. They could say, Scientology, new and improved with 50% less brutality. Come in today and experience less brutality than ever before. Now, see, that's what I would have done. Scientology needs to buy that billboard to lock it up so that never happens again. And they need to advertise that they're less brutal than before. Everybody likes the idea of less brutality. Oh, hi, Benita Hopkins. Hello, Agent Augustine. Sorry, I'm late. That's fine. I know you're always running late. I'm sure you were doing something important and probably of a suppressive nature. Probably suppressive. Gus Fring. Yes, one of my favorites. He's such a great actor. They're neglecting to realize the Scientology policy is to threaten to sue, not to actually sue. You are correct Alex. And yeah, Clear Channel. I had another ad up, but I didn't decide I didn't want to post it. 500-year term would violate rules against perpetuities, probably. You know what? I don't even know if Los Angeles or California itself has any laws. And um, technically, I think you could rent it out for 500 years, unstable datum. We may have a lawyer in the house, but uh, alternately, they could just buy the board. Um, Scientology now with 30% less Nazi propaganda. That's a winning formula. It goes well with, it pairs well with new and improved with 50% less brutality. I like that. So that was what I would suggest that they do with that board. Um, Now I had this idea. Oh, the shoot didn't turn out right. My bad. But I want to put an SPTV bulletin board on flag. You know what happens when you do a shoot and then you put it into StreamYard? Sometimes you get errors like that. But I think an SPTV uh, bulletin board in neon on the flag building, I think that would be a nice thing. And for enough money, I think David Miscavige would do it, or a promise not to have him criminally prosecuted. But someday that will happen. And I'll put up the correct picture on my blog because it was such a great shoot. Now, we were talking last show about raw meat pre-clears, and that's one who has never had Scientology processing. So Scientology considers all of us out here raw meat pre-clears, and in other words, like big fat cows where they're going to devour all of our money. Look at this ravenous. This is a Scientology reg. This is David Miscavige. This is the Chase Wave credit card fraud. They're just, you know, going after that big piece of raw meat. And so while Scientology thinks we're actually this guy too, this could be this frenzied maniac going at raw meat could be have fallen into the valence of the Sea Org member who got arrested this morning for assaulting Jay here in Los Angeles. And that's the valence of when Scientology says you've fallen into the valence of, it just means you're acting like. So, like people said, Tom Cruise is in the valence of David Miscavige. It just means Tom Cruise is acting like David Miscavige. We're the authorities on the mine. We're the experts at getting people off drugs. We're the only ones who can help at the scene of an accident, etc. So, but what's happened is raw meat pre-clears. There used to be a stat. Ron also charmingly called new Scientologists bodies in the shop. We need to get more bodies in the shop. But when they think they were going to get new members, that didn't work out really well. Oh, I like this. Scientology, now one day without felonious assault. Oh, I like that. That's like in a manufacturing facility where they used to put up signs. I think they still do. How many days they've gone without an accident? We've worked 23 days accident free. And then Ted, your friend Ted, fell into the chip shredder by accident. Poor Ted. Anyway, it was quick and brutal. Another slogan: Scientology better than anthrax and rabies. I like that. One thing my friend John P. Capitalist used to say, he said that Scientology has a worse reputation than Ebola-coded kiddie porn. That's something to think about. So these raw meat wogs that Scientology thought they were going to drag into the orgs, the new beautiful ideal orgs created for Tom Cruise's friends, they're not getting raw meat or orgs. Sorry, they're getting people like Alexa and their FM. They're getting suppressive live streamers, and it's become a problem. And it's driven this Sea Org member to the point of cracking. He went type 3. And there's a picture of him. And somebody out there is going to know his name. He has family somewhere. He has friends. He has blown former, Sea Org members who will know who he is. Boeing doesn't have those signs. Yeah. I was just flying on a Boeing 737 uh, recently, and it was very nice. It had all the windows. It didn't have any, bolted in panels or anything. I want to fly on those. Uh, but look, it's easy when you're building an airplane to forget to throw in some bolts on the door plug. It's probably a Friday afternoon. They used to say, uh, when I was growing up, my dad worked for an aerospace company that built equipment for the for the boomers, and by that I don't mean baby boomers. I meant the U.S. Navy's SSBN class nuclear submarines that carry the nuclear warheads, the MIRVs, the multi-independent reentry vehicles, where that's a nuke that has 10 to 12 warheads on top. So as it fires, it shoots off 10 or 12 in different directions. So my dad worked for a company that built equipment for the boomers, the SSBN class. And there used to be a joke in manufacturing that you don't want to buy a car that was built on a Friday afternoon or a Monday morning, because on Friday afternoon, manufacturing workers are thinking of the weekend and they might miss a detail. And then Monday morning, they come in hungover from the weekend. And so your wiring harness might not work right, or your steering wheel was backwards or something. Boeing should have an ad. Our planes are better than Xenus. No, Xenus could go faster than the speed of light and travel across the vast expanse of space carrying frozen bodies. So Boeing should aspire to have a Xenu type of aircraft. Okay, so what's happened is this guy lost it, and I think this is an important. I don't think this was a rogue. I think this is someone who's the pressure is getting to all of Scientology. By the way, he has his theater usher, old time theater usher outfit on, and the body routers down on Sunset in Vermont, right by Pac Base. This is what they wear. So I wonder if because they've stopped doing body routers, and I wonder if he's like an unemployed body router who got assigned to to clean the grease traps or something. One does wonder about that. So this to me was an important development as an analyst, that things are cracking inside. That's my opinion. Now, what I want to talk to you about today, is he wearing an Argyle vest? It might be Bert from Sesame Street. You know what? There's kind of that could be a Sesame Street character. And I like your that too. Scientology, some true data about aliens, but the rest is really bad. That's a great concept. I think our next show, we're going to do marketing slogans. We're going to bring aboard our genius crew here. Marketing slogans. Scientology, some true data about aliens, but the rest is really bad. That's a good line because it's ambiguous. Is the true data about aliens true, but the rest of the data about aliens is bad, or the rest of Scientology is bad? Bonita Hopkins. My uncle was a Ford executive. He always said the same. Pray your car wasn't built or serviced on a Friday PM. See? Yeah, maybe your uncle was talking to my dad. Who knows? But those old guys knew, those old boys knew, yeah, you don't want it Friday afternoon. My dad happened to include Monday morning, but his crowd drank, and he's Bert's gay uncle. I thought Bert was gay. Anyway, chasing people away is the opposite of body routing. So is assault. So is felony assault. We're onto something here, Foster. Chasing people away is the opposite of body routing. We could also say assaulting people is the opposite of body routing. And also it could be a slogan. It could be curious, come in for a beating. But then that would violate my sign that they're less violent, 50% less violent than they were before. That's just so interesting. This guy just lost his shit. He lost his shit and he's yelling and he has a 2008 era camera and who knows what the story about this guy is. And and he's just reacting. He's used to being the tough guy taking on raw meat pre-clears, and now there's SPs, and so he's got to lay it down. Now, what I want to talk about, um, somebody can get the incident report on that clown's arrest. It'll have his name. Well, I think that's something. I want to talk to you about the things that Scientology and the LAPD can do, and also law enforcement in general, because there are legitimate concerns. And I want to go to a terrific website. I'm going to show you what I did. Okay, now signals intelligence. There's signals intelligence. Part of that is gathering intelligence on signals emitted by the other side. So I have this device I use professionally, and I can sweep for bugs. And right now it's picking up my 5G because I'm transmitting. And what I wanted to do, so I can sweep for bugs, hidden listening devices, and let me go here. So I was using this. Okay, let me go into another mode. So if you want it to be, it's cool because I can have like a Geiger counter sound. So if I ever needed to fool someone, I'd say, careful, it's radioactive. Have you been near a volcano? Have you been near one of the principal volcanoes of Earth that didn't exist 75 million years ago? Um, Now, this is radioactivity. What would Dr. Farley Spink, Dr. Denkenauer, and Hubbard have to say? Should I smoke cigarettes to run out the radioactivity? Anyway, I could tell someone this is a Geiger counter, but it's not. It sweeps for signals. Here, come on. I don't need the audio. Okay. So what I was doing, I wanted to show you what I was doing. I've been doing a covert program, which I can now reveal. I'm not done with it. I'm not going to publish it, but I've been running a covert operation to gather signals intelligence on Scientology and the LAPD. And this is all perfectly legal because there's all kinds of instruments. And I want to show you what happened the other night. I'm going to share this. Okay, so the other night, I'm at Pack Base, and all the live streamers were there. It was where they rented the white Sea Org van. But what you'll see is the LAPD is there. You can see the LAPD car in the back. And then let's move this forward. Okay, so what's happening is you can hear me talking, and LAPD is there, and they're going to take this device I just showed you, and you're going to see it light up like a Christmas tree. There's Chris without a Hellcat. Okay, so what I was doing is, and this wasn't the only device I had. Um, what I'm doing here is just I had a baseline from L. Ron Hubbard Way where it was electromagnetically quiet, electromagnetically quiet. There was no electrical noise, no spectral noise. So I had a baseline when LRH Way was empty, and I used a couple devices to get a baseline. And then what I did is I got a normal baseline for when live streamers were there. And then when LAPD was called, I got frequencies that were coming from Scientology and LAPD. And I could detect. Now, what I'm looking for is, and this goes to something here. I'm going to stop sharing that for a minute. I'm going to show you something. Uh, okay. Now there's charts that are public, and I'm going to show you one of them. And this is how. Okay, so now this map right here. Let's make this large. Okay, this map right here. This is from LAPD. It's publicly available. These have the SLOs, and basically in LAPD areas, you can actually call. What is an LAPD SLO? We have one here. Ours. I'm not going to share his name. It's called SLO. Uh, yeah, senior lead officers. Okay, so these are the senior lead officers for a given area, and they have cell phones published online. So what I'm trying to establish, and if this goes to a lawsuit, uh, we can get discovery to see if Scientology was calling the senior lead officers in the LAPD Hollywood division by on their cell phones, because we were led to believe that dispatch told they did call in fake bomb threats, but I also want trying to determine on cellular activity and also Motorola radio if there was direct communication at the same time or if there were just fake threats. So I'm doing some investigative activity along, and I'm just saying there's a community of people interested. An SLO, Alex, is the senior lead officer. So that would be a senior lead, and there's 3 shifts. So you'd have a senior lead officer in these areas. It's not exactly the watch commander. It is, it's like an outward facing, interact with the community and interact with there's a lot of interactions. I'll post the link. In fact, let me post the link here if you want to read about the SLOs. But the point is, uh, now let me post the link here. So there's a lot of information I've been researching about LAPD and how it does its business. And because I'm trying to prove something. I'm working on a theory of a case. And there you go. But what I wanted to make you aware of, this is the street level surveillance. I want to show you what LAPD, Scientology, Talon, and even you can do. But this is what goes on. And I'm a real big believer in a certain organization. And I'm going to share it with you. This is the Electronic Freedom Foundation, and this is an absolutely great website. In fact, I'm going to give it the whole screen. Um, And you can see that these are the types of surveillance capabilities that LAPD have, that Scientology has. I can get most of these. You can get some of these. And I want to show you what live streamers, what I think Scientology is up against. And they're going to try to collect. Obviously, Scientology has automated license plate readers. You have to have a permit. So when you live stream, just have situational awareness. They're going to get your plate, which it really doesn't matter because they can get your address. That's neither here nor there. Part of why I'm doing this is to just let you know how much they can collect, but also tell you you really don't have to give a shit about a lot of it. But this is the paranoia of not just the cult, but the state in general. And as a civil libertarian, I'm against infringements on our liberty. But after 9/11, Bush Cheney administration destroyed a lot of the constitutional protections we had. Biometric surveillance, uh, body worn cameras. The police uh, always ask them when you interact with them, say, is your body camera on? I would like your body camera on. If a police officer has his or her body camera off, then you should have several cameras on them, because there's a game that gets played. And this is just from hanging around certain bars. One of the games that gets played is when cops want to do something dirty, and especially if they're interacting with an individual, they'll turn off their body camera. So if you have an interaction with a member of LAPD Hollywood or anyone else, ask them to please turn on their body camera for their protection and yours. If a police officer does not have on his or her body cameras, it can become a disciplinary matter. Now, we know that Scientology has surveillance cameras. That's why I call that's why I call the Celebrity Center Camera Land, but that really, any Scientology org will be called Camera Land. Now, this thing I want to show you about, this is the big thing you want to watch out for. This is called cell site simulators, IMSI catchers. There's devices that the police or Scientology can buy, often through Israel. And there's these devices that will trick your cell phone, into thinking it's hooking up with a cell site. And it's really not. It's hooking up with a counterfeit. And these devices can be used to get information off your cell phone. So, one thing I wanted to recommend to you, um, one thing I want to recommend to you is that you get another phone for live streaming that's clean. Just buy another phone that's clean, that doesn't have any of your personal data on it, any of your email. Just get a clean phone. And because of these things, these cell site simulators, they can be used to basically access information from your phone by spoofing it. And I'm going to put the link. In fact, I'm going to put the link to this right now. I think this is such an important thing for you to know about. These can be put in a car, a truck. There's handheld divisions. So this, I can't say certain things I know, but they get your ISP metadata about who you are dialing, duration of the call, intercept the content of SMS and voice calls. You can see here, right here, this is the information they can get. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So a lot of these things come out of Israel, and I know that Scientology has been using these devices. I won't tell you how I know, and I'm not saying them. They may have hired a contractor. So this is why I'm urging you. I have a lot of phones. You should get a lot of phones. If you're going to live stream, if you don't really have anything on your phone to worry about, don't. But if a dirty operator, some dirty unlicensed PI, gets a credit card he or she might use it. So these are probably the most insidious. LAPD uses these things, and uh, I have reason to believe. That's all I'll say. I'll put it that way. That LAPD certainly has undercover in the live streamers. I think I have the photos of two of them, and I'm not going to put them out in the public, but they can use these. They can put, they're like I said, they're portable. You can actually put them on your person. You can put them in a car. And I put the link in the this sort of stuff is illegal in the UK, but yeah, it's illegal, but doesn't mean it's not being used. Um, would Scientology use these in the UK, knowing it'd be hard to get caught? Of course, Alex. They don't care. Again, I repeat what I want everyone to know: Scientology doesn't give a shit about the law. They're going to use anything, and this is something we're going. I don't really want to get statist, but the FBI, DEA, NSA, Secret Service, ICE, Army, everyone uses these things. The state has a legitimate interest in using them. However, there's places where the state departs into illegitimate uses, especially um, when they want to spy on political opposition. We knew that when President Obama was in office, he used the IRS to deny tax exemptions to Republican opposition groups that were called Tea Party groups. So, without getting into politics, I'm just saying that whoever is in office, right or left, they're going to use these things against their opposition. And so, just be aware and think about spending the money to get a clean phone and keeping your real phone at home. I think everyone should have 3 or 4 phones, including a burner phone, a minimum of 3 or 4. But if you read this article on cell site simulators, that's a technology not a lot of people know about. Now, if we go back at the Electronic Freedom Foundation, so we see that again, they're using license plate readers, biometric. I'm not worried about biometric. If you're a live streamer like me or anyone else, Jessica Streets, um, your face is out there, so who cares? Body worn cameras, that's make sure the police wear them. Surveillance cameras, anytime you're live streaming on Scientology, you're on numerous cameras, and always smile at them. Uh, Cell site simulators. Now they use drones and robots. Now facial recognition, they're building a data. I mean, Scientology, even anonymous time, they built a database of facial recognition. They'll try to link it up with a name. I don't give a shit about that. They know what I look like. If Scientology wants to have its security contractors or even its own internal Office of Special Affairs build a database, all I ask them to do is get my good side. I have those rugged good looks of an older PI, and I want to look good. So at least get the lighting right, and a picture of law enforcement using it. You can learn a lot from the Electronic Freedom Foundation. So look at that. They're comparing it. These two guys sort of look alike, but are they the same person? Well, you know, um, this is where facial recognition software can help find, when you have a legitimate criminal case, yeah. But when you're a cult wanting to, intimidate people or try to intimidate them, this is the level of equipment they have available to them. And so I would urge you to follow that link, and I'll post it on my blog. Um, Electronic monitoring, that's if you get arrested by the police and you're on probation or parole, rather, you're going to have to wear an ankle monitor. And maybe some of the goons Scientology hires wear ankle monitors. I don't know. Gunshot detection. Let's hope it never comes to that. But, OT8 William Rex Fowler lost his shit and shot and killed his business partner in cold blood. I hope it doesn't come to that. Sound can be hard to detect because of the acoustics. The next thing is forensic extraction tools. Now, this is something I really emphasize to you as well. If the police ever ask you if they can look at your cell phone, tell them no, they're going to have to get a warrant. You just tell them no. That's an illegal search and seizure. The police will always ask you if you get illegally arrested by LAPD or any other agency and they want permission for you to get into your phone, you tell them no. In fact, you don't talk to them all. You say, I want a lawyer. No, you can't search my phone. And you have a right against unconstitutional search and seizure. And what my concern is that there's dirty cops out there connected to Scientology, maybe taking pay, money, but through surreptitious means. So don't trust the cops, especially if they're connected to the Church of Scientology. Never let them look at your phone. They have to get a warrant. And that's why if you have a clean phone and there's nothing on it, then they're not going to get anything. So I'm saying protect yourself, because predictably the bad cops connected to Scientology will try to set you up on some charge. So, take care of yourself, because the live streaming is working. It's beneficial. It's good to expose the cult of Scientology. But I'm just showing you the kind of stuff that the cops can use. So I wanted to share this page. Yeah, this is the one we were going. So we're showing how this goes through and shows you, and education is power. They can literally, they want to get an image of your phone in the hard drive, and they can pull out the hard drive if they want. They can even get down to the chips. Due to the manufacturing of chips, every chip has its own signature. And that's how they catch these guys who look at pictures of kids, is their phones or cameras have semiconductors. And once they get due to the chip manufacturing process, gravity, even things like that, heat, it'll have its own signature. And that's how they catch these freaks who look at pictures of kids, because their cameras have a signature that goes onto the photograph. But I'm just showing you this is how much science there is. And it's good to, I know you know about it, but it's good to be reminded about it. And this is what they're going to be looking for: photos, videos, text files, contacts, private and group conversations, even from encrypted messaging apps such as Signal and WhatsApp, any stored location, advanced browsing history, your digital wallets and payment methods. In some cases, an advanced physical extraction of the device can recover content that the user thought they deleted, but was really still stored on the device. Yeah, no kidding. There's a case where if you get something uploaded into the cloud, then it's there in the cloud. And if they got a warrant, they could get the cloud. So I'm just saying that use a different phone. Now look at that. These are all the agencies using it. So they're in widespread use. And anyway, you think you get the point. Police access to the Internet of Things devices, IoT, Internet of Things. There's even agencies, if you have like a smart refrigerator, a robot vacuum cleaner, of course, Alexa or Bixby, the Internet of Things, they can actually listen in, surveil, pull data out of that without a warrant or customer permission in emergency circumstances. Your Ring doorbell, so there's all kinds of ways they can get data, and this explains it. So yeah, your Ring doorbell can actually be acquired. And predictive policing. Now, predictive policing disproportionately discriminates against minorities. And we're not getting into predictive policing other than I believe that they're creating an algorithm in LAPD and Scientology's contractors to try to predict the behavior of the live streamers. That's why randomity is really good. Scientology likes to use that word randomity, but randomness is very good, as is having different phones, having different ways you get there to try to defeat the algorithm. So this is an interesting something I just wanted to bring to your attention. Now, there's also community surveillance apps. Now, these things like Nextdoor and crowdsourced public safety apps, the police will go right into those for everything. And it's like when you go on and they'll show you the threats around you, making people feel terrified. That sort of data collection under the guise of making you feel terrified, and they'll sell your data. And they're worried about it unleashing racially biased or even vigilante violence or harassment. Now, they tell you how it works. So be aware of when you're posting things. Now, once again, when you're live streaming, none of this matters because they know where you're at and what you're doing. Real-time location tracking. And again, my point is this is what Scientology can use against you through their dirty operators. They might want to build a profile or a dossier on you if you're high profile. Social media monitoring. Oh my God, social media monitoring. That makes being a PI so easy. If you're going to be a crook, stay off social media because I can't tell you the stuff I've collected just from idiots posting on social media. It makes my life so much easier. Jeffrey, how much of the second phone thing applies to just watching and chatting and emails and stuff? Do I need a second phone for any Scientology stuff, even if I'm not in meat space? Um, if you're not live streaming, I, I personally wouldn't worry about it because, um, well, I've never worried about it, but it's one of those things of this take due notice and govern yourself accordingly. I don't have that level of paranoia. Unstable datum. If you're just browsing the internet looking at anti-Scientology, I wouldn't worry about it at all. So, but that's a good question. And I'm saying stay situationally aware. I'm more worried about, I'm not worried about them, the cult of Scientology. I'm not worried about them getting into my phone uh, because, you know, I'm already mapping their signals anyway. And I'm doing it, and I'm not going to share any of it other than just to make OSA aware is not just me. There's a lot of people, a lot of really smart people, smarter, a lot smarter than me, who've gotten into this open source thing of mapping you, you know, and I'm not connected to them. I'm just saying you've pissed off a lot of people. And I got to tell you, I'll tell something directly to Office of Special Affairs. And to do this, I better go back into, okay, now, this is how effing stupid Scientology's Office of Special Affairs is. This is how effing stupid David Miscavige is. They really are cunts. Um, okay, question. What kicked off Anonymous in 2008? What act of censorship kicked off Anonymous? I want to see if I'm testing your knowledge of history. What act of censorship kicked off Anonymous in 2008? What did Scientology get taken off the internet? So there was an act of censorship. And what it was the Tom Cruise Go to Guns video, as we call it, where it's that leaked video where Tom's in the black turtleneck and he's saying it's KSW. And he uses that phrase, it's yes, you're right, unstable data. The Tom Cruise video removal was it. Where Tom says, oh man, it's just go to guns. He's using a fighter pilot thing where you switch from missiles to guns. We called it the go to guns videos. It was a leaked thing where Tom talking about KSW and LRH. And it's not just me, and it's not just Dave, but it's you. And Tom says, I wish I could take a vacation, but I can't. Yeah, you can take a vacation. Anyway, when that video got taken down by Scientology, that pissed off a lot of people who were free speech advocates, and that precipitated Anonymous. So if you think this thing through, taking down the billboard pissed off a lot of people, Scientology, Office of Special Affairs. It really pissed off a lot of people. And it wasn't just, they're not just angry at Scientology, they're angry at Clear Channel for giving into fascism. But Scientology as the bad actor. And earlier than that, there's some other censorship and threats. And there's certain things Scientology did through some of its agents that pissed off a lot of people. So just the general rule, Scientology didn't learn the lesson of Anonymous. Now they're having to spend a lot of money. So let's just go back into some more of their tools they have. I need to go back in. Okay, so social media monitoring. Just be aware of what your post. I guess one of the big rules is, and this is what Arnie Lerman said years ago. This is one of Arnie's dictums. Never write or post anything you wouldn't be willing to stand in front of a court on. So, think about what you're posting. Not that you would wind up in court because Scientology doesn't want to sue, because all you got to do is counter sue and name David Miscavige. But just be aware, of what you're posting. Law enforcement, LAPD looks at all the live streams. They record all the live streams because LAPD is a paranoid organization, and they know that certain people are getting closer to their dirty ties to Scientology and what cops work for it. Now, these are vendors, and you can get them if you wanted to. You as a private citizen, you can. There's a lot of great stuff that comes out of Israel you can buy if you wanted to spend the money, but you don't have to, because the live stream footage is the best thing to have. But I'm just saying that these are the professional people that, Scientology, Office of Special Affairs, through its agents or its attorneys, could hire to harvest. And Scientology already harvests everything we do on social media. And finally, police databases. Now, these are where, federal law enforcement networks, National Crime Information Center, NCIC. So this is where a lot of stuff gets compiled, and it all rolls up into a big national system. And basically what Scientology would try to do is to get you put into one of these databases. That's why you always obey the law. Don't get yourself arrested. These BS swatting calls of Scientology's attempts to get you into the system. And I know who's behind that. I know exactly who's behind that. I've talked to federal agency about it. And again, police even do stuff like try to collect your tattoos. If you have tattoos, they'll make a note of that. If you have tattoos, they'll notice that. So this is street level surveillance, and it's from, let me see if I can go. I'm going to go back. I'm going to share a different screen. Stop sharing that one. I'm going to share another screen with you. And this is something that you should look at since we're in a larger context. I want to give you a larger context. Okay, now this is a group. This is the Electronic Frontier Foundation. I was saying Electronic Freedom. I meant Electronic Frontier Foundation. This is a great website. I'm going to put the link right now in the show comments. This is where you can really educate yourself on what's going on, what governments are doing, what's going on all over. Like, look at this opening article: how to figure out what your car knows about you and opt out of sharing when you can. So your car is now collecting information on you in a Scientology-like manner. That is just amazing. And then they go into issues of free speech. For example, there's a law right now. They had a feature story about, yeah. Oh, here's an interesting thing: decoding the California DMV's mobile driver's license and why the state's really interested in that. The DMV wallet. Um, there's a law, and I believe it's in Nevada. I believe it's in Nevada. They had an article up on it. Now, this is controversial. Stop the TikTok ban. But basically, I believe it was Nevada uh, is trying to forbid people under the age of 18 from using encrypted apps. That's bad. That's really bad. So this is an area of a space I follow, and yeah. Listen to this. Thousands of young people told us why the Kids Online Safety Act will be harmful to minors. Yeah, so they're trying to pass this kids online, and ultimately it could roll up to Scientology acting in its own best interest, along with other fascist groups. So, Scientology, um, through some of its contractors, has a vested interest in censoring the internet, getting billboards taken down, doing everything, and building a database using a lot of sophisticated means. So your best protection is your phone. Oh, by the way, if I show my phone here, you can see the camera lenses and the light. I actually have a device. You can buy this on Amazon. I mean, you can buy a lot of this stuff yourself. You can search for hidden cameras, and I'm not going to go into that, but you can scan your car for listening devices if you have something like this. And it's not unreasonable to buy an inexpensive scanning device in case some OSA cult member puts you know an air tag on your car. They just did a thing. An environmental group found out that Amazon was not recycling its plastic waste as it had promised, and what they did. This was in the news yesterday. This group put, I think, 59 air tags, and they found 17 of the air tags just wound up in landfills that Amazon wasn't recycling. You know, so there you go. Apparently, ShotSpotter is being used in my town. Flatlines, yeah, yeah, and so there's a lot of technologies out there. Let me see what I have. Um, this is let me just share this screen with you. I'm going to share another screen with you. Share screen. LAPD got in trouble, and I don't believe this story. Um, this is over 2 years old, but it said that LAPD partnered with tech firm that enables secretive online spying. So the point of sharing this with you is only that LAPD, LAPD engages in wide, pervasive surveillance. And as a function of you exercising your free speech rights, they, of course, respond to groups. And LAPD said that it banned using facial recognition. I don't know that I believe that at all. In fact, I don't believe it at all. And this article says that they partnered with this firm because LAPD can do a lot of things through contractors. And so you can see this. This is another article I'm going to post. But the point is, LAPD had to admit that they were doing it. They lied about it. They absolutely lied about it. And then what happened? In a related story, let me see if I can find this. It's the 30,000. Now, this is the LAPD claiming that they had stopped the use of facial recognition, and now they're saying here, BuzzFeed News reported that it had inquired about documents showing that 25 LAPD employees had performed nearly 475 searches using Clearview AI, a controversial software that scrapes images from social media. So get that number, 25. We had only 25 employees doing it. And this is one of those, oopsie, we might have got our numbers wrong. And I just want to find the article. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. So they're saying, oh, we had, now keep the number in mind. LAPD said, oh, we only had 25 LAPD employees do 475 searches. Okay. So let's see how Scientology's best friend LAPD holds up when the media put the screws to them. It was one of those, oopsie, it seems like we got our stats wrong. The actual story was LAPD officers reportedly used facial recognition 30,000 times in the past decade, contradicting the department's previous denials. So they said 475 times, or was it 30,000? Oh, we lost track. Yeah. So I think that my opinion as an analyst is that the LAPD's taking advantage of the Scientology live streamers to just build more of a database on everybody, on anybody it can. Also remember, if you are streaming and wearing glasses, the screen can reflect off your glasses shades. So be careful what info you pull up on your screen. That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. Your glasses. There's a lot of different ways. Back. Sorry for my absence. Well, sorry is no good, Alex. You're going into lower conditions. I don't know what lower condition to assign you. You're already down below non-existence. Oh, well, we'll let it slide. Never mind. Could they use that stuff to install something on your phone in order to monitor the area? Well, that no, Alex, what you're talking about, they would have to go to wiretapping. So there's proximity, but this goes to a bigger question. Yeah, they can always hack your phone, Alex. If they really wanted to, they could hack your phone. And that they did that to Mike Rinder and Tony Ortega. Saldaguerra, the PI out of New York, and he went to jail for it. So that's why you sweep your phone. Hey, speaking of the man, you guys hide the weed pose here. Hey, good to see you, Paul on the go. Good to see you, John. We're just talking about the cops. I want to show you something to Alex's question that's kind of a little bit scary. And this just goes to society, but also the capabilities of surveillance. Oh, man. Yeah. Okay, so this I was just reading. This just came out January 9, 2024. Look at this. LAPD plans to include private cameras in 10,000 strong surveillance network. How about that, Poe? The Scientology money project, hide it. Oh no, pass. Lol. Well, Chief Poe, I have you know that I never touched the devil's weed. The devil's weed. Yeah, I personally don't, but no big deal. Yeah, when I was in the churches, the devil's weed. What come next is you start using the Ouija board. You start using the devil's weed, then the Ouija board. Suddenly you're demonically possessed. Then you're in trouble. Then you'll start going into those things like Scientology, which is the devil, Satan, the devil. Scientology, straight from the pit of hell. Oh, I'm sorry, I fell into the valence of my Pentecostal preacher. The Scientology Money Project. Oh my God, Big Brother is growing stronger by the day. No kidding. Let's go back into this screen. Okay, so now LAPD, get this. They want to, I guess, become British. Uh, they want to get neighbors like, like if you have a security system in your home and a Ring doorbell, they want to network this whole thing, and it's in your best interest. They want to get live feeds from home security cameras. But I mean, once you open your equipment to LAPD, look at this. This sounds like public safety. It's kind of good, but kind of scary. Because especially if someone like Scientology got into that system through, an associate at LAPD or actually a Scientologist who worked for LAPD. What if Scientology got into this database? It says the real-time crime command center would give police access to security cameras in and on city buildings, stores, police body cams, and the department's helicopters. It would integrate other software such as the CompStat intelligence tool, which is scary, onto one single screen. Homeowners could also register their own security cameras with the department to share footage from their property and be notified if a crime is committed nearby. Yeah, that's what I want is because networks get hacked. I just got a notice that some website I went on had been hacked and my ID had gotten taken. And I use a program called Aura, AURA. It's a good monitoring program, and I have other programs to monitor me. Change passwords regularly. My Lord, this is so frightening. It is. And let's go back to that screen. Okay, so imagine Scientology getting access to this. And this is what I worry about because Scientology, I know, and I would swear under oath in a court of law, I know one operative who was an OT7 who worked for LAPD at Piper Tech, and I've shared that before. He knows who he is. Scientology knows who he is. I know what he was doing. I know what Anthony Pellicano was doing. And if Scientology and other cults or malicious groups, now here's LAPD. They swore that they only had 475 looks at, data that they collected of social media when it's actually over 30,000. So their counting is off by magnitudes. It's worse than the vacuum catastrophe in physics. If you want to read a funny story, Google vacuum catastrophe. Quote, LAPD argues the program will reduce time and money spent on investigating crimes. How, Poe? How? It's not going to gathering evidence and talking to witnesses while eliminating the need for officer visits to private residence. No, that's what you want. You gotta okay, look. Look. I explained that and Poe, back me up here. I'm a gumshoe. That means a PI. And I told the story, gumshoe comes from the time way back in the 20s and 30s where, men's shoes especially, but ladies' shoes too, fine shoes, were made out of hard leather soles. And so if you were skulking as a PI, in a hotel, you could get the scene from, a movie, a narrow wooden hotel hallway in 1935. And you were walking down the floorboards of the old place would creak as you were skulking and peering in into the little eye holes in the doors. So what PIs did is they had soles cut that were made out of gum or rubber, and what was gum, and they would glue them to the hard soles of their shoes so that they could pad down silently when they were spying on you. That's why they're called gum shoes. Anyway, um, this stuff, look, uh, you know, Poe, when you investigate a case, you got to go knock on doors and talk to witnesses and interview witnesses and get the facts because you can't get it from Ring doorbell cameras. So this whole thing about LAPD, which had 475 visits in its official statement, but then oops, it was actually 30,000 views, and it had to quit using facial recognition software, which I don't believe for 1 minute because they have a surveillance department. So yeah, they want to network all the cameras everywhere to watch everything. And if Scientology got its mitts into that, Ben Bacon bits. It's all fun and games with Ouija board until you spell Satan in your tomato alphabet soup could happen. Yes, exactly. Fun and games with a Ouija board or Bloody Mary. Oh my God, you remember that Bloody Mary where you turn your back to a mirror and you would say, I believe in Mary Worth. I believe in Mary Worth. I believe in Mary Worth. And then you turn around the mirror and see Mary Worth, but it was Bloody Mary, this horrendous ghost. Yeah. Um, a specific government agency changes its passwords every 30 minutes. Yes. And you can get random password generators to get, 24 character random, which I like using. Skynet. Yes, exactly, Mary. Hey, glad to have you here. Um, sounds like you're not being offered to opt in. That's what I worry about, Mary. It's like we're your government. So Scientology was already creeptastic 1984 spy state with knowledge reports. And so my main concern, like I said, there's legitimate uses for law enforcement, but I worry about Scientology operatives and Scientology friendly LAPD. And I'll give you an example. Oh, you'll like this example. Because this is where I got some dirt on Scientology. And so my blog, having my blog and compiling data is I don't have to use Google because I can find it faster on the Money Project. And okay, so let's go there. I'm going to show you. I'm going to actually show you some empirical evidence of why this worries me because it's happened in other countries. Now, okay, this is a story I did. I posted it at Tony Ortega's. It was a guest piece, but then I posted it on my blog. And okay, this is retired Colombian Police General Mina Bravo. And Scientology made a big push into Colombia in 2010. The Echeverria family of Colombia, which owns a huge organization, Corona, which is like a Home Depot. This is the guy that gave, back in the day when he was younger, he's the guy who gave David Miscavige the medal. And that's General Mina Bravo. Now, what's scary about him is he became very friendly with Scientology. Oh, look at there's Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. I have such a great audience. These are all upstanding, solid citizens who follow the Scientology Money Project. If you want your face there, you can join it. Hello, Stephanie. Hello, Mark. So many. There's angry. Okay, so this guy, this is what's scary. He got in bed with Scientology. Okay, LAPD style. Except he went all in. And what happened is General Mina Bravo of the Colombian police, he was the Interpol contact for the entire nation of Colombia. And this article makes clear, Scientology used Mina Bravo to distribute literature, and it made it look like in the period of extrajudicial killings when Colombian government was fighting FARC, Colombia wanted to look like it was doing something, so it used Scientology human rights literature. Okay, so that was like, look at this in Colombia. 96% drop in reported human rights abuses after passing out copies of The Way to Happiness. Besides that's just asinine. That's so cultic. But where I'm headed with this is look at this. what Scientology wants in its PR is to be seen with cops. Okay, that's the superficial tip of the iceberg. Follow me here, please. So we see the LAPD with OSA members at Pac Base to the left. So they're all smiling. There's what's her name, Janet from Another Planet, the woman with the white blouse there. Um, she's the one who got Jenny at LAX kicked out of his place. Janet, horrible woman. And here's Miscavige down, I believe it, yeah, in Colombia. There's the ecclesiastical pimp. Now, these are PR photos saying, see, we support law enforcement. No, you do more than support them. I think you support them in unusual ways. And there's Mina Bravo after he was retired, giving Miscavige a medal. But what I found here, and you see the red arrow, General Carlos Romero Mina Bravo was the director of criminal investigations for Interpol. He had access to the Interpol database. This was during a time when there were criminal investigations against Scientology in Belgium and France and other European countries. And my theory is that Mina Bravo gave Scientology access to Interpol files in Europe because he was the director of criminal investigations for Interpol in Colombia, and you can see how the PR photos are just for the public to donate money. That the police are distributing our literature, but what they really want is they want to have this guy because he has access to the internet database. And I put an actual arrest warrant. This is an extradition warrant that I found online, signed by Brigadier General Carlos Ramira. So this was the real guy. I mean, he had that kind of police power, and he was in Scientology's pocket. So if they can do it in Colombia, they can goddamn well do it here in LAPD. There's always dirty cops, and so that's what I worry about. And another story I did. There was yet another general when Mina Bravo fell, and he was arrested for corruption. Um, I was reading Scientology during the dark times, and I spotted this fellow who they just said paving a new path in Peru. And all he would say is in Lima, Peru, a 41-year police veteran became an emissary of L. Ron Hubbard. And I went, wait a minute, a Peruvian police officer? So I got on Google and did searching. I used my intense PI powers, and I found out that this guy was actually Peruvian National Police General Jose Luis Laval Santa Cruz. So they got another South American police general. And look at that. So they got Colombia. So the fact is, I have evidence showing that Scientology has, and this title is great, Scientology can't get enough corrupt South American police general under its wing. No kidding. That was written by Ortega. It's a great headline. So they do this. Now, so let me put this together. They have the technology to gather intelligence on you, all the way from fake cell phone towers to get into your phone to interrogate it. Fake cell phone towers. Let's go back to that. The fake cell phone towers. And so they have fake cell phone towers. They prove that they can get into Interpol data through Mina Bravo. Peru, this guy Laval Santa Cruz had access to Interpol data. So what Poem the Go asks, what next are we going to bring Tommy Boy and what next are we going to bring Tommy Boy, Tom Cruise, and the PR cogs like in Minority Report? Scientology will do whatever it can get away with. When I discovered all this, I'm a little bit flabbergasted. I'm a little bit pissed off. Like Scientology buys these dirty cops. South America, easier because it's called a fee. It's not called a bribe. And so there's bad actors in LAPD. I know that. And I know that some federal agencies are cognizant of that fact. Think about it, Poe writes. They lower the they lower the numbers of POs on the streets, crime rises dramatically. Yes. Then in the name of protection, they implement things like this and take more rights away. That's exactly it, Poe. That's exactly it. And we have to recognize there's certain politics going on. So as crime goes up and they take more oppressive measures, Scientology opportunistically plays into this. Okay? So Scientology Scientology hides in the shadows of the Christian evangelicals, the Catholics, Latter-day Saints, and the other big groups that use their power to create super PACs and get votes and get influence in the Congress and in the White House. Scientology hides behind the shelter of that as a little cult because of big Christian evangelicalism and the Catholics. They have a lot of power and they don't want their 501c3s tampered with, and Scientology enjoys that protection. So, what I'm saying, within the contours and landscape of the creeping surveillance state, Scientology could easily buy its way into that to get data on suppressive persons, the people they deem to be suppressed or deemed to be enemies. They could enact false arrests. There's all kinds of possibilities when they can infiltrate, as they did in Colombia. And but this is where David Miscavige overshot. This is why the Interpol thing was ruined. Miscavige wanted a medal for saving humanity, and this retired cop who was on the payroll gave it to him. And the Colombian, that became an international news story. And the Colombian government was just furious. And they launched an investigation. Mina Bravo disappeared off the scene and was arrested within a year for corruption related to purchasing. And so Scientology always looks for where the criminality is and sees how it can get its way into that criminality, whether it's cops at LAPD, Austin, Detroit, Harlem, wherever it needs to be. And it does that through operatives. Oh my God, I thought they chewed gum and stuck it to their souls. No, we didn't. You would take a lot of gum. You would have to chew like, I don't know, 20 or 30 packs of Wrigley's chewing gum. That would take you an hour in your car, plus the sugar rush. But I could see how you would think that. No, they had the souls cut. So gumshoes. Now, hello, late as usual, right? Better late than never. Glad to have you here. Okay. Koberger was busted by cell phone pings. Yes, so it can work both ways. Been burning the midnight oil doing taxes, no exemption for me. Then that must mean you make so much money. If you don't get any exemptions, she's ultra. Are you really Melinda Gates, Jeff Bezos' girlfriend? I mean, if you don't get any exemptions, you've got to be ultra wealthy. Do you think OSA put GPS trackers on protesters' cars? That's very likely they could, but speaking as a PI, if they got your license plate, they don't need, they can run a plate. That's easy. They can run your license plate, know where you live. But if they want to know with whom you're hanging around, yes, they could put a tracker on your car. That's why I advise people to buy a cheap version of this. This is the professional version, which costs a lot of money. It's called the Protect 1207i 1270i. This is expensive, professional grade, but you can buy cheap ones on Amazon just to sweep your car if you're worried. That's not unreasonable to do. If you have so anyway, did you hear about the idiots who tried to follow Chad and me from Flag to our hotel? Yes. And Poe, correct me if I'm wrong, please. And I'd bring you on, but I don't have the ability to because my admin Alex has blown apparently. But Poe, I think that they were just doing that to let you know they were there. And this is what I tell people: PIs are not cops. They don't have any power. Don't let them intimidate you. They're just fucking goons. That's all they are. Don't let them intimidate you. In fact, you can have fun with them. You can have a lot of fun with them. You know, you just stop, go into a Starbucks, take their picture, and live stream. If I ran into a PI, I would pull over, go into a Starbucks, let them get out. If they're in their car, I would just live stream these idiots. They can't do anything. They don't have police power. They can't do anything. Like I keep telling you, when I was growing up in church, the pastor would say, preacher would say, the devil only has as much power as you give him. 90% of what goes on is in your own head. And if you're afraid of a PI, they're counting on you doing 90% of their work. So if you're not afraid of them and you don't give a shit, and I don't give a shit, I would just live stream them and get a record out, get their license plate. It's probably a rental car. So they follow Poe. Poe doesn't give a shit. He's not scared. Dude's been in gunfights. And but they're gonna rattle him. Yeah, they didn't scare me. I know they wouldn't. Like I said, I had to slow down to let them catch up. Then I slid into a lot, waited for them. They ran when I realized they knew. See, Poe's doing the right thing. All you need to do is they were so incompetent that they look. It's really hard to follow someone in a car. It's really hard to tail somebody. It's harder than it thinks, especially if there's a lot of traffic lights. And that's why you usually have to have 3 or 4 cars. In fact, just to diverge for a minute, when you're coming into LA on the 10 freeway, it diverges into the 10, the 101, the 5, and you can get off at downtown. So you've got like 12 lanes of traffic. And if you're following someone, they could zigzag. I mean, they got like 4 or 5 places to go. So you have to have 4 or 5 cars to follow. But if it's just one, it's a little bit easier. But yeah, I would have fun with them, burn them, just get them on film. Because if you by pulling over like Poe did, and Poe did the right thing. Now, if you live stream them, they'll never work for Scientology again because you've burned them, you've made them. PI doesn't want to be made. So make them, you know, pull over somewhere and get them, you know. Yeah, but they're not scaring this old hillbilly. Well, amen, brother. They're not scaring this old hillbilly either. Uh, yes, you gotta love Poe. And Scientology spending tax-exempt funds to follow Clearwater Chad, the fulcrum of the revolution. Somehow that angers me most of all. Yes, Clearwater Chad is the fulcrum of the revolution. He seems so unassuming, but that's all an act. We know that Clearwater Chad is maniacal. He's maniacal, and he's probably the head of psychiatry in the Western Hemisphere. Clearwater Chad comes across as laid back. He does the weather. It's all a ruse. I think Poe and Clearwater Chad are psychiatry's top agents in the Western Hemisphere. They have to be. You know, they have to be. What is the ballpark price for following someone, especially with 4 or 5 cars? It varies region to region and agency to agency. Let me see. I'll just say a ballpark LA price for surveillance. You have to pay for the rental cars because PIs never use their own cars. And so you pay for 5 rental cars. Each PI would be 75 an hour about to do surveillance. That's a ballpark for a low level, you know, $75 an hour plus the rental cars, plus they need a per diem. If it's an all day, you got to pay them a per diem for food. You got to pay for gas. So it's not cheap. And yeah, H&A, you crack me up. Thank you. I'm trying to be entertaining and education. We're going long, but if you but that's it. I just want to show you the context of the sophisticated things Scientology can bring against you. But your power against all that is this: live stream, take pictures. By the way, can you see? I shown you earlier my phones. Um, my phone has 3 cameras. See how the little lenses pop blue and light? The point I was making, you can get these on Amazon, so you can scan for hidden lenses because they fluoresce. When the photons hit the polymers in the lenses, they fluoresce and they jump right out at you. And there's a little bit of a technique to do that, but there's so many things you can do, but your main power is to film it and always get time, date, location. Always. I'm telling you, you'll see me in my videos holding my watch up to my camera so that I have time and date. When I filmed the Scientology billboard, I made a note that it was 11:27 p.m. and I was at New Hampshire and Fountain in Hollywood, East Hollywood. And so I know the date and time. And I made a record of it. I actually filmed my watch, which is a day date watch. And so, day, date, time, film them. Okay. Okay. They were in two different cars, single occupants in each. I've seen the guy in the lead car on other channels. Oh, okay. So they have one guy then who's the squadron leader. Huh. I have PIs on me all the time now. I just laugh. You should, because they're cult PIs. If you talk to them, ask them why they're taking cult blood money. I always consider PIs who work for Scientology, like Talon, to be the bottom of the barrel scum. By the way, I've got to say to Ron Williams of Talon, you failed loser. I went to your site and you have some old video on there, and it has the big CRTs, the big old computer terminals. It's like, update that shit. You got to get some flat panels. This is a crack. If you go to Talon's site, he's talking about how dangerous it is, but this stuff is so old. He has these big fat CRT monitors. It's like, dude, Scientology. Look, Williams, one PI to another. Okay. Scientology is paying you a fuckload of money. Update your advertising. You got these CRTs that make you look like Magnum PI from 1985. It's a joke. I laughed at it. It was like, you can't pop for like plus Williams, I saw you take that scene out of the Batman bank robbery. I saw you take that scene of the armed robbery at the bank. That was right out of Batman. It was a little. I hope you paid for that. I hope you paid a licensing fee for that. Video was, yeah, it was like, it's dated. It's really, really dated. It's, to use a word, what did my source say about you? Calcified. Talon is suffering from calcification. Talon cannot hack a mechanical timepiece. No, my watch, which is Swiss, I got a mainspring. But you know what's cool? Unstable data. I have a carbon fiber mainspring. That was one of my fascinations in buying this Mito Ocean Star. Is I'm such a geek on tech that it has a carbon fiber mainspring, and they can't hack into it. So, and they can't use a magnet against me because it's a carbon fiber mainspring. So me and my watch, we're watching you. They leave me here now, retired cop with a ton of bang bangs. Yeah, I got a few of those laying around. Really fascinating. Strange for social studies. This is Magnum PU. My dad is retired AF Air Force and cop. He got lots of them. No one comes locking late at night. Yep. And they use those old computers to play Oregon Trail and not much. So yeah, I can imagine Talon. Let me see if I have any more uh anything I want to say. Oh yeah, I want to show you one more thing. I got to show you one more thing. And as long as you're hanging around, I'll keep the stream going because I'm having a lot of fun. If you, I got to jump off, fine. But otherwise, I'll shut it down about 15 minutes. All right, folks, got to go get some shut eye. You'll be safe. We got to do another live. Poe, give me a call. Give me a call. Have your people call my people. We'll do a live. We're overdue. We're overdue. So yeah, let's call me. Now I want to show you one more thing. That's one more LAPD thing. This is your tax dollars at work. LAPD. Here it is. The LAPD. Your friends at the LAPD. They have an electronics unit. Electronics unit. But this is all on their webpage. It's, and I've got this highlighted in blue. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you can read it. This is always good to know that for a group that works with a Scientology cult. Electronics unit personnel design, construct and modify electronic equipment to match the nature of the investigations they support. I wonder if that means they have e-meters built into their surveillance equipment. This unit also provides services such as reproducing audio and video evidence for court, repairing and maintaining recording equipment, audio and video enhancement analysis, and cell phone analysis. See, this proves my point. This LAPD electronics unit, they want to tap into your home camera. They're connected to Scientology. So if nothing else, LAPD should know that the optics of their relationship to the Church of Scientology, along with their surveillance capabilities, are horrendous. So the optics of it is, Poe's got it right. Former cop, chief of police, Poe has it right. LAPD Hollywood station should be melted down and restaffed. Just melted down, its personnel assigned elsewhere or retired. And, you know, you put in people, you put in new people, and you talk to them about what a group like Scientology does in its attempts at infiltration and things. So I'm going to cut it loose. I'll take this. Jeffrey, you teased some free zones data in your past live. Am I correct in suspecting that Eastern European Turkish free zone is working with the boys in Langley? No, unstable datum. You got the wrong guy. I don't think the CIA has any use for Scientology whatsoever. Scientology has absolutely nothing to offer an intelligence agency at all. They don't. In fact, and this is maybe where we disagree respectfully, I have yet to see any evidence whatsoever since FOIA was started in the 60s. The CIA, its capabilities are so enormous and immense, and you add in the NSA, the NRO, you add in foreign civilian agencies, the Mossad, MI6. Scientology is not a modern cult by any means. So an intelligence agency wouldn't need Scientology. And the free zone is so small and obscure. I mean, what's Ron Zorg going to do? Or the Lembergers? I mean, they're not, they're delivering Scientology auditing in the free zone to a very limited group. That's their right to do. Good to them. Believe in what they want to believe, practice what they want to practice peacefully. Because I got to tell you, the geopolitics of it is that they wouldn't need them. It's just, I'll give it to you this way. Scientology's intelligence capabilities were proved to be complete garbage when the FBI raided them in 1977. That's how bad they were is they got caught and their 10 or 11 top leaders went to jail. They were not a successful intelligence agency. What they're good at doing is spying on people who they deem to be suppressive persons. But in terms of any geopolitical situation, no, no. Hubbard couldn't even get it right in Corfu. He got kicked out of the country. He got kicked out of Rhodesia. So I'm the last person. Yeah, the CIA ain't investigating ain't investing. Yes, the CIA ain't investigating a cult that still uses CDs. That is really well said. And I would add to that, Adam, Scientology's population is aging out. They have Sea Org, which come here on religious worker visas from Eastern Europe, Mexico. A lot of the Sea Org here in America are second gen, third gen who don't have college degrees or they have a GED. So show me the evidence. Show me the evidence anywhere. That's all I say to the people like the McClarys. Show me some actual evidence, not suppositions that Commander Thompson taught L. Ron Hubbard about Freudian psychotherapy. To me, Commander Thompson sounds like a pedo. You got a guy who's working with a 12-year-old boy. Freudian psychotherapy is laden with sexuality, about sexual repression. And you're supposed to have, let me get this straight. Commander Thompson, to me, sounds like he's grooming LRH, like he's a pedo. Because you don't talk about it. And to believe that a 12-year-old boy could absorb Freudian psychotherapy. And if you read the church's biography of Ron, like he says that Commander Thompson is taking Ron to lectures on Freudian psychotherapy in DC and to libraries and spending all this time with Ron to talk about Freudian psychotherapy. I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm not buying it, you know. I could change my mind if I see actual evidence and not LRH was in New York City in 1940 and this early guy from ONI was there. I can end it. We're at 2 hours. I could tell a great story next time about me and President Clinton that would illustrate my point. So I'm going to jump off now, but next time I will tell you a story about myself and President Bill Clinton that will illustrate my point. It's an amazing story, too. So thank you all for being around. Glad to have you here as always. So what about the kids in Scientology? That's not a CIA issue, but the FBI ignores it too. I have to take this question to be fair. I went to the FBI in 2012 and they said, give us anything on kids and money. So I did podcasts and I have a podcast. I interviewed several second gens and I did a podcast where I have Matt Pesh talking about covering up the rape of Alexandra Jensch at Flag and getting Marie Warren out of the jurisdiction and getting Alex out. And I've got Jackson Moorhead talking about what's going on with the forced abortions. I've got some second gens talking about what happened to them. So the FBI told me to give them stuff on kids and money, and I did, and I still do. The FBI should be concerned. And this is, I'm not going to go on because I want to cut the show, but I'd like to do a show on this. And I deliberately set up a series of podcasts, and I told the FBI, here's enough. Here's a guy who actually named Matt, who's willing to go in front of a grand jury, who actually told you what he did and what the policy was for handling it. And now we have the Masterson cover-up. So that, Marino, this is going to be another show. I'm so glad you asked it because that's an issue dear to my heart. And it's ended up here, but we will do a show on that. Good night. Best to you and yours. Same. Interesting but scary. Okay. As always, I try to give my audience something. So, well, I do have a story about myself and President Clinton that you should all hear, and next time I will tell it. So, everyone, thank you so much. I'm going to end off, and hopefully Alex will show up at some point. And they didn't get him. The Marcabs haven't come in their beam ships and kidnapped him. Okay, kids. So stay away from the Ouija boards. Read your Bibles. Whatever you want to do. Hell, you're all adults. Do whatever you want to do.